Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Jonathan Felix Anthony Cena hasn't been seen on WWE TV since the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania 36 against Bray Wyatt, where presumably, in WWE canon, he died? But like The Undertaker, he might be about to walk off that death and make a grand return to WWE. It was announced yesterday that WWE will begin having fans in attendance again for their live shows as of July 16th, the go-home episode of SmackDown before Money in the Bank. And according to the Wrestling Observer, there's a chance we may be seeing Big Match John on that first show, as his return is reportedly still being discussed within WWE. Cena has recently said in interviews that he would want a WWE return, and when the primary appeal of Johnny C is his crowd reaction and how he interacts with them, it would make sense to bring him back alongside the fans. There's no word on what he would do if and when he did return, though if he returned directly before Money in the Bank, it may make sense for him to enter that match itself, adding a level of star power to that match and maybe even winning the thing to set up his 17th world title win. Who knows? Would you want to see Big JC back in WWE? Let me know in the comments below, because I'll be replying to people from out of his spinny belt. Whee! In the wake of the recent release of the Velveteen Dream, more details have continued to come to light regarding the end of his time in NXT. After WWE artist Rob Schamberger called Dream the most unprofessional person he's encountered in this business, it seems there were other behavioral issues behind the scenes as well. But according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live, he had friends very, very high up, obviously. So there were issues that some people didn't feel comfortable going to management about because he was close with management. I heard about behavioral issues when he went to NXT. I heard issues when he went other places, whether it be Evolve or whatever. There was a lot going on with Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream had not wrestled in 2021 and was used sporadically in 2020, with his push coming to an abrupt end after allegations of inappropriate messages being sent to underage fans surfaced midway through the year. We will continue to keep you updated on Velveteen Dream as more details become available. And while the overall reception of WrestleMania Backlash was positive, the most talked about segment has definitely been the most negative part of the show, that being the Zombie Lumberjack match between Damian Priest and The Miz. The segment was panned by critics and fans alike, with the New York Post calling it the saddest moment in WWE history, and Dave Meltzer rating the match -3 stars. However, Ringside News is now reporting that WWE made 7 figures for the advertisement, which for those bad at math is at least $1 million. Whether or not that amount of money is worth the embarrassment of The Miz being eaten by zombies is up to you. Personally, I would be embarrassed for $1 million. I mean, hell, I was in the authority for 9 months, got made fun of more times than I can count, and didn't even get any monetary compensation for it. What a joke. And now it's time for a review of last night's episode of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. This week's episode kicked off with a parade of champions hosted by WWE official Sonya Deville, where each champion showed off their title, including a promo from Apollo Crews saying he was going to retain his title in the Fatal 4-Way later in the night. Sonya then introduced Roman Reigns, but in accordance with Reigns' character and everything we know about him, he didn't come out. So Paul Heyman instead came out and said all the champions on stage right now aren't champions, they're title holders. There's only one champion, and it's Reigns. After this, Bayley came out to the ring and said that Sonya was acknowledging all the champions for the work they've done during the Thunderdome era, but she held the title for 380 days and was a double champion during the Thunderdome era. Where's her recognition? And you know what? She's right. Bianca Belair comes down to the ring and then tells Bayley to take the title off her, and then Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler attack Bianca for some reason, and then Natalya and Tamina come down to make the save, and then they get beaten up as well. Why were Nia and Shayna on the show? They're from Raw, and they're not the champions anymore. They can't float like the titles do. And why did they attack Bianca? Am I missing something there? This set up a 6-woman tag after an ad break, and while the match was certainly chaotic, it kinda just felt a little bit messy and confusing more than an exciting mayhem. And at the end of it all, Shayna Baszler taps out Natalya because this feud can never end. You can't even give the new champions a week to maintain their feel-good moment. You've got to have them tap out the week after they win the belts to the people they beat for the titles, meaning it really looks like their title win was a fluke, considering Nia and Shayna beat Natalya and Tamina several times over before they managed to win the titles. God, please just take this feud to Raw so I don't have to watch it. Aleister Black had his next vignette video promo next, which was still pretty good. I'm still enjoying it, and I'm liking this character. Is it a bit of spooky nonsense where he's not really saying anything of value? Maybe a little bit, but I like it anyway. King Corbin faced Shinsuke Nakamura next after Nakamura stole the crown last week, but this time, Shinsuke was played down to the ring by Rick Boogs, who came out and played the guitar to Shinsuke's theme. It sounded pretty cool, and I guess Boogs is just with Shinsuke now. Okay. The match was a match until the scripting told them it was time for the match to end, so Boog started playing the guitar again on the outside, which distracted Corbin, allowing Shinsuke to get the roll-up win. I hate that that's a staple in WWE where distractions happen not for any logical reason, but because the scripting tells them it's time for the end of the match. Jimmy Uso backstage gets Sonya Deville to give the Usos their big reunion match against the Street Profits next week, but Jimmy didn't speak to Jay first. Ooh. After this, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Jey Uso made their way to the ring doing their full entrance. And then there was an ad break. And then we cut back to the ring to see them waiting there, and then we cut to a Kevin Owens backstage promo about the Intercontinental title later. And then we cut back to the ring, see them still standing there waiting, and then we get a video recap of Reigns versus Cesaro at Mania-Lash. I hate this. Do one segment at a time, WWE. There's an order to things. This promo was pretty good, but lacked a bit of substance. Reigns says he wants Heyman to celebrate him today, so Heyman lists off his achievements since he's come back, and then Reigns asks for Jimmy Uso, but instead, Cesaro comes out. And Cesaro, unfortunately, sounded a bit lame, because he asked Reigns for another title shot. But dude, you lost clean. There's no reason for you to have another one. You just sound a bit whiny. But Seth Rollins attacks Cesaro, repeatedly stomping him into the ground, and Cesaro is stretchered out, with Rollins screaming at Cesaro and looking like he's losing it just a little bit. The promo was fine, Cesaro's promo was delivered very well, but he should have instead said he's not making any excuses. He lost fair and square, but he's going to work harder and earn another title shot before being attacked. We got a recap of Dominic and Rey Mysterio winning the tag titles at Backlash before Dominic faced Robert Roode in another never-ending feud. Before they won the titles, Roode and Ziggler were telling Dominic that he doesn't belong in the ring. So now, after they've won the titles, Roode is telling Dominic that he doesn't belong in the ring. Surely, the whole point of Dominic and Rey winning the tag titles is so Dom can say that he does belong, because they proved it. They pinned them. Clean. But they did that, and the dynamic of the feud is exactly the same, which begs the question, what was the point of them winning if it's not going to affect the story in any tangible way at all? All you're doing is just reinforcing that wins and losses don't matter. Dominic wins clean against Roode, and I swear to God, if Roode comes out next week and says, that was just a fluke, you still don't belong, I'm gonna be so mad. Jimmy Uso backstage tells Jay they have a tag match next week, and Jay says, well, I've got to tell Roman about this, and tell Roman he did. And Roman essentially said the two Usos are not a we. The only we is Roman and Jay looks very conflicted. The Street Profits cut a pretty good promo ahead of next week, and the main event was a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship between Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Big E, and Apollo Crews. The first half of this match was a little slow, with it being primarily a one-on-one match that cycled through the various people, but the second half really picked up into a very fun, super fast-paced, exciting match. At various points, it looked like all four of them had the victory locked in, but were stopped by various things, most notably after Big E hit the big ending on Crews, but was dragged out of the ring by Commander Aziz. After dealing with Aziz, E made his way back into the ring, but was distracted by the lights changing and a bunch of smoke appearing on the ramp. Out came Aleister Black, making his grand return, who promptly hit a black mass on Big E, allowing Crews to pin him to retain the title. I'm not a huge fan of the lights change being the distraction. However, I am into this new Aleister Black, and I'm very glad he came back and did something of substance, as WWE has been known to have character reworks go through several weeks of squash matches and the like before getting anything of note to do. This sets up a Black Big E feud, which I'm all for. Black has something to do that's important. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and by voting on our poll match on our community tab here on YouTube, where 80% of you voted for Aleister Black is back. I miss the Black Bass. Now, in recent weeks and months on SmackDown, there's been things I've not liked about the shows, but it's almost always been dwarfed by something overwhelmingly positive, normally involving Roman Reigns. This show didn't really have that. There were still things I didn't like, such as all of the women's stuff and the Dominic and Bobby Roode feud, but this week the Reigns stuff felt fine rather than amazing, and the main event was very good. But there wasn't that knocked out of the park, amazing, shining light that there normally is on SmackDown. So I give the show a low 3 out of 5, I think. It was fine.
Teams are as thus: Adam, Rosie, and John, the red team. Oh, hang on, I'm going to change my colour.
Oh, yes. There we go. Ooh.
Adam, Rosie, and John, the red team, versus the bastards, Laurie, Blair, and Sullivan on the blue team.
Let's crush him.
Each blue team.